Why does doing nothing make a man fall in love with you? I mean, you're doing nothing. What is there for him to even fall in love with? And why is it that when you finally like a guy, which happens once every 2 years, and you do show him just an ounce of real love, he runs away? Well, I have good news for you and I have bad news for you. The bad news is this cycle is pretty much unavoidable as it relates to men. But the good news is if you actually understand the psychology of why this is happening, you can actually use this concept to your advantage to make men fall in love with you. And by the end of this lesson, I'll take you from desperation to desire. I want us to first discuss an analogy that's going to encompass everything that we're going to talk about for the rest of this show, okay? So this analogy is going to start off with a construction site. Stay with me, we're going somewhere very special. So we're at a construction site, and in this construction site, we're going to be building a sidewalk. In order for us to build a sidewalk, we have to use the most important element as it relates to building sidewalks, which is cement. The truck is spinning the cement, and when it comes to try and lay down the cement to make the sidewalk, right, it lays down the cement, and quickly and efficiently, as you're laying down the cement, you have to start molding the cement exactly how you want it so that the sidewalk looks how it's supposed to look, right? You don't want it to be all wonky. In order for you to lay down this cement quickly and efficiently, because remember, you only have a little bit of time here, or a very finite amount of time when you lay down the cement before it hardens, you have to have a plan before you actually dump the cement so that you can execute on that plan or that strategy very efficiently and quickly without wasting a lot of time or making a lot of mistakes. Because if you dump that cement without a strategy and that cement starts going everywhere and you're kind of making a lot of mistakes on where to put it and how to shape it and how to mold it, you're going to get to a point in the cement's lifespan where it hardens and it's no longer able to take shape or be molded in the way that you want to mold it to make a nice, neat, clean sidewalk. So the problem with this is once you get to the point where that cement has hardened and you've made some mistakes, it's spilling all over the place, it's misshapen, it's deformed over here and deformed over there. Now that that cement is hardened in place, you have no choice but to live with it exactly as it is. There is no takebacks. There is no going backwards and changing everything about the cement's placement. The reason I'm giving this analogy for everything we're going to discuss here is because I want you to understand what your goal is and what you're actually striving for when you're doing nothing. Relationships are just like cement. The reason that cement is just like relationships is because the same way when you first pour cement, when you first get into the relationship, when you first meet the guy, that is the time when the cement is the most moldable, malleable. That is the time when the relationship is the most malleable and able to take any shape or form that you would desire it to take. The same way with cement though, as time goes on, that cement hardens in place, in the place that you allowed it to take shape and you molded it for. And as time goes on, that relationship hardens in place with the dynamic that you have set at the very beginning of the relationship. And as time goes on, it continues to get harder and harder and harder to change that relationship, to remold that cement into something new. The reason that this is so important for doing nothing in your relationships and making men fall in love is because from the very beginning, you want to understand that you're doing nothing for an ultimate goal, for a larger goal. That larger goal is so that you can create the type of dynamic, the type of relationship dynamic specifically, in which the guy that you're with is used to taking initiative and taking action in the relationship in his masculine energy. He's used to going out of his way for you without you having to beg, plead, scratch, and claw. Because he has gotten used to the cement hardening in place, the relationship dynamic hardening in place, in which in his masculine energy, he steps forward, takes action, and pursues. Meanwhile, you sit back, you relax, and you receive in your feminine energy. That is an established relationship dynamic. Doing nothing, and specifically doing nothing as a strategy, is helping to establish that specific relationship dynamic that you then want to harden in stone, turn into your cement, and become your new established relationship dynamic. Now, there is a strategy to doing nothing, even though doing nothing seems like it has no strategy, okay? Doing nothing is strategic because as you do nothing, you have to understand what you're actually doing here. You're giving this man space to come to you. okay? I know it seems simple. A lot of times the mistake happens when you start inching forward towards the guy, right? And as you're inching forward, right? You force him to actually take steps backwards, right? Because there's only so much room for a pursuer. You have to understand, both of you, and I know it feels like this would be magical, this would be amazing if this could happen. It's just not possible. Both parties can't both be a pursuer, okay? Both parties can't both be a receiver. There would be no relationship, okay? If one person is heavily pursuing, then the other person is receiving. We want the party receiving to be you, and we want the party pursuing to be him. However, if you don't do the job of giving him the appropriate amount of space to pursue, then you're doing yourself a disservice. And I want you to be thinking about that anytime you're thinking, hey, I should be taking action here, I should be taking initiative. I want you to realize what you're actually doing is you're stealing. You're a swiper the fox. You're stealing his ability to pursue you because you're not allowing him to have the space to step into his masculine energy, begin taking action, and begin pursuing you. This is a very delicate balance because this consists of masculine and feminine energy and what feels natural to us in a healthy relationship. I know it kind of sounds weird or it feels weird for some of you who have been so long pursuing men, but I promise you, men actually feel better about the idea of having the space to make the choice to pursue you from their desire to pursue you, which we're going to talk about desire in a little bit. And you have to give them the space and allow them to have that space and take a step back, not allow your emotions to control you, not allow situations or circumstances to control you, and definitely don't allow your friends to control you to convince you to begin doing the pursuing or to convince you to start to close this gap of the space because you feel like he's not yet stepping into it. Emotions are great, sometimes. And then emotions can get very bad, very tragic at some points. This happens, especially as it relates to doing nothing and trying to make men fall in love with you. Because at a certain point, right, because of your traumas, because of your experiences, because of maybe the fact you didn't have a dad in your life or whatever the case may be, right, you begin to have these types of emotions, some of which include anxiety, desperation, and just overall fear. These emotions are drivers, meaning these emotions are putting pressure on you. That's why I put an upward arrow. They're putting pressure on you and pushing you to make outward actions. The reason that these emotions are playing this role on you and they're affecting you this way is because when you feel these things and you feel them very strongly, it's okay to feel emotions. You say to yourself, oh my God, this stupid idiot on YouTube's talking about do nothing. And like, I'm literally trying to do nothing, but he doesn't understand. I want this man. I want to be in a relationship with this man. I need to have this man. He's the only 6'3" man who's funny, who has money, he's dark, he's got straight teeth, he's got his life teeth. I'm literally not gonna find another man who's like him. My life's gonna fall apart. This stupid YouTuber, he doesn't understand. I need to make this happen. I need to make this work. Okay? And this is what will happen to you over the course of time, right? The fear is playing a role on your emotions, right? The desperation, the anxiety that you're going to lose this guy. He's the last guy on earth. There's no other guy that you could possibly connect with because you don't connect with men that often. All of these things will start making you feel like, no, damn that stupid strategy. Damn that stupid do nothing, okay? I can't sit around and wait for him to come to me. I have to take initiative, okay? He hasn't been texting me. I need to text him. He said he was going to call me. He didn't call me. I'm calling him now. Okay, right? You say he hasn't taken me out on a date in 3 weeks. I'm calling him and telling him he needs to take me on a date. I'm planning the next date. I can't wait any longer, right? This is the problem. This is why I say doing nothing is actually a strategy. It's a very detailed and meticulous strategy because it's very hard to follow. When you do nothing, you also have to be aware of how your emotions will play a role on you and try to get you to not just do nothing, right? And to get you to take these types of actions, because all of these actions is what we would classify as masculine actions in a relationship sense, right? Because you now want to turn desperately into the pursuer because you feel like, well, if I sit around and wait around, the guy that I want, he's going to run away, right? Remember here, in the process of us doing nothing, and why this is meant to work in both senses, it's meant to work for the guys who you're going to build the right relationship with, and your relationship's going to harden and cement into the type of relationship that we want you in. It's also good because as you do nothing, even though you might encounter the types of men that will respond to you doing nothing with nothing and will show you disinterest because they're not really interested in you, it's still a positive because what you're doing is you're weeding out the men who don't have the disposition or the desire to actually be in the type of relationship dynamic that you know you're looking for, okay? And let me remind you, the type of relationship dynamic that you're truly looking for in your feminine energy is the type of relationship dynamic in which the man that you're with in his masculine energy is taking action, is showing initiative, is coming to you, is being a pursuer, is being consistent without you having to beg for things over and over, asking for the bare minimum. We want a specific relationship dynamic for you. So we have to make sure that we don't allow emotions to control you or force you to begin taking actions that are going to sabotage your ability to make that man fall in love with you by doing nothing. I want to give you an example so that I can describe to you a deeper point that's very, very important for you to understand. And trust me, it all relates to why men fall in love when you do nothing. One of the biggest questions I get is, well, stupid YouTuber that's just on my screen, I don't know if you're an AI or not. Explain to me, because I don't get this. Am I not supposed to be my authentic self? Because you're telling me I should do nothing. And you're basically essentially saying, in order for guys to like me, I have to basically show them that I don't like them. That's so silly. That's so childish, okay? That's just so wrong. Because in a world of rainbows and butterflies, sunshines and dandelions aren't good. Sunshines, rainbows, and butterflies. We should be able to be our natural, authentic selves. Cover men in love if we feel like covering them in love. Smother them in love if we feel like smothering them in love. And love men as authentically as we feel like loving them so they can just love us back. We can be in a big love fest. That sounds great in a fantasy, okay? But let me tell you why you don't even act your authentic self in your everyday life. Let me give you an example, okay? So you're at work. You don't like your boss very much because your boss takes credit for a lot of your projects, gives you a lot of unnecessary work. He's really mean to you, really rude to you. He's just a horrible boss. Your authentic self wants to tell your boss, F off. I don't have time for you. I don't care for what you have to say. Hey, look, I don't even want to work here anymore. But because you have a deeper desire to have money so that you can actually live your life, pay your rent, pay your car note, right? Be able to have food on your table. You don't say these things because they'll lead to you having no job and subsequently no money. So even though you authentically feel this, you don't say or act on, or I should say you don't act on it because of the consequences of you acting on it in that way. And also because of your understanding of what your overall larger goal and desire is. So let me point this back into your relationships as it relates to authenticity. I'm not saying don't authentically feel your real raw emotions of wanting to love a man, wanting to smother him with love, wanting to be all over him, and wanting to confess to him your feelings. I'm not saying you're not allowed to feel those emotions or you're wrong for feeling those emotions. All I want you to do after you feel those authentic feelings is I want you to remind yourself of the larger picture, okay? And the larger picture here as it relates to doing nothing is that you are strategically not doing some things so that you can give this man the space like we talked about earlier to come to you, to fall in love with you, to desire you, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. Because if you don't do that, then the larger goal of being in that healthy, happy relationship that hardens into cement in the relationship dynamic that you want will not happen. So you can't think of it as, oh, I'm suffering because I can't be my authentic self. You have to think of it as I'm doing something for me so that in the response that I get, I will eventually be happier in the long run because the thing that I guess we could say developed over the course of time with the actions and the strategy that I took is what allowed me to be in the position, be in the relationship that makes me overall happy. I want us to discuss dates and how doing nothing on dates is supposed to work, okay? You're gonna have the before, you're gonna have the during, and you're gonna have the after as it relates to your dates. Now, in the before, this is something I love to remind people of. I'm helping them in their situation. And they say things like, well, I don't know what's going on with him. He hasn't texted me, he hasn't called me. Well, he has your number, right? He knows how to contact you, right? So that means if he really, really wanted to contact you, because he really, really wanted to go on another date with you, because he really, really wanted to organize a first date with you, because he really, really wanted to talk to you, he would just do that, right? The reason I talk about this is because this is part of understanding how to do nothing and why it works properly. Remember, I talked about giving men space to come to you. The desire to say, well, we haven't been on a date yet. I need to reach out to him, text him, call him, so that hopefully during the span of us talking, he can be reminded of the fact we haven't gone on a date and then say to himself magically, I want to go on a date. No, okay? Stop doing that. Let the men reach out to you. And even when they do reach out to you, be short with them. Not being short with them as in being rude with them, but don't try and overcompensate. Stop trying to overcompensate. Overcompensating never works. Remember what we're doing overall. We're allowing men to come to you, right? And the ones that have the disposition where they desire you, they want to be with you, and they want to take you out, and they want to get to know you, they will respond accordingly, because when you give them the space to step forward, they'll actually step forward. The ones that are not what you want, that we're weeding out anyways, will not respond well to this when you take a step back. But that's exactly what we want. We want to build you a relationship in which you're able to receive without doing exorbitant amounts of work, okay? In order to make the relationship work. Then when you get to during, right, of course you're gonna be asking questions and you're gonna be abiding by this rule, which is to cut things short. The reason that this is important as it relates to doing nothing and why this is important is because when you need to understand doing nothing is not just about doing and saying nothing, it's also about giving him room to desire you. I alluded to this earlier in the show. The emotion that you want to build within men, the number one emotion when you're doing nothing, is the emotion of desire. Desire is the emotion that men need to be able to have within them bubbling up to the surface that allows them to then say, I need to take action on this desire by reaching out to her, by calling her, by asking her out on a date. So doing nothing is also understanding how to allow desire to consistently exist in the relationship that you have with a man, that he can continue to act on that desire. In order for desire to exist in that relationship, you cannot be present. Okay, I'm gonna say this again. Desire can only be present in a relationship or a situationship or in anythingship with a man when you are not present. Does that mean you have to ignore him? No. Does that mean you have to actually like say, hey, I'm literally purposely not gonna answer his text for the next 3 days. I'm gonna go ghost, no. All it means is you have to remind yourself that as much as I'm having fun and enjoying myself and I want to be here and I want to have a good time, I'm not going to allow the fact that I'm having a good time to make me forget that doing nothing is the real only way for him to truly fall in love with me. Yes, he's enjoying me right now. Yes, I'm having a good time with him right now, but I have to cut things short in order to remain in that space of desire so that he can act on his desire and the strategy of doing nothing can actually work for me. Because even though you might be saying, well, I'm doing nothing when we're hanging out and we're going out on dates and, you know, the 2-hour date turns into 3 hours because after the dinner date, we had so much fun that we went on a walk. And then after we went on a walk, we were having so much fun that we decided to, go back to his place for some wine for the next 2 hours. And then we drank wine for 2 hours and we were having so much fun drinking wine that we decided that I will just have a sleepover there since I was drunk and then I didn't want to drive back and this and that. And then the date that was supposed to last 2 hours ends up lasting 12 hours because you sleep over and then you wake up the next day and you go back to your place the next day. That still becomes a version of doing too much. That you're not giving the man the space to desire you because you're always there. And because you're not giving the man the space to desire you because you're always there, right? The same thing ends up happening. Now he can't miss you. Now he can't say to himself, I want to see her more. I want to ask her out again. I want to go out on a date with her again. Then we get to afterwards. And this is where a lot of things fall apart. Because a lot of people, right, a lot of women, when you get to after the date, you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, I had a good date, but we have to go on another date. And I hope he really enjoyed this date. So maybe I should text him and remind him how great the date was so that he can be prompted to send me a message back and say that he wants to go on another date. Don't do that. That man, once again, he has your number. He knows how to contact you. If he wanted to ask you out on another date after this date, he would do that. When you're doing nothing and you're doing nothing properly, you don't even allow the anxiety of did he like me to stress you out and force you to do things that you shouldn't be doing if you actually want him to fall in love with you and have the space to fall in love with you. Because men need to be able to take that action, like I talked about before, to fall in love with you. All of these different stumbling blocks, I should say, right? Or distractions will take you away from the ultimate goal of doing nothing so that he can fall in love with you. These are easy places to stumble upon because you're on the date and you want the date to last 8 hours because he has your number, but you feel like maybe he's busy. So you have to send him a text as a reminder that you exist so that maybe he'll be reminded of that. No, you want to text him afterwards so that he can remember that he needs to take you out. No, you're doing nothing. There can be a desire on your part to, as you're dating guys and you're trying to think of how to get them to like you more, you start projecting what you know gets you to like a guy more on the guys. And you think to yourself, well, if these actions get me to like a guy more, then maybe if I do those same actions for a guy, it'll get him to like me that same way. Wrong. Let me tell you why it's wrong. Because of the differences between men and women and the way that we respond to love. So because you have a desire to be protected, provided for, etc., right? If you meet a guy and that guy is not really your type at the very beginning, he's chatting with you, you're like, I don't really date guys like you, you're kind of nerdy, you're not really my style, right? But he continues to message you, he asks you out on dates, and you're like, you know what, I'll just go out for a good time. And when you go out on the date, you're like, he was kind of funny, he was kind of interesting, he's not that bad. Then you go out on a second date and a third date and a fourth date. And after a while, you start saying to yourself, you know what, at first I really wasn't that into him. But as I got to know more about his personality, who he is, I'm starting to like him now. I also like the fact that he's so consistent with his pursuit of me. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, he is always texting me, always calling me, always making sure I'm good, always going out of his way, to try and get access to me. And I kind of like that. I kind of appreciate that type of effort. See, what you have to understand is that's natural to you because you want to be protected, provided for, and desired. So when a man is so consistent with you over the course of time, even if you don't actually like him initially, the fact that he's showing you that consistency, showing you that effort, showing you that desire actually speaks to a lot of the things that you inherently desire in your natural state as a feminine woman, in your feminine energy, right? So he's speaking to your nature when he's doing things for you, pursuing you, and then growing on you, okay? Now, for the men, this is where the mistake happens because men don't have this same desire to be protected and provided for. So when you try to do things like, hey, you know what? I can tell this guy he's not that into me. Or I can feel like he's kind of lukewarm. Maybe he's not ready for a relationship. Maybe he's got other things going on. But I know, if he just got to know the real me, if we just went out on a couple of dates or maybe we hung out at his place and he could see how funny I am, he could see how interesting I am, he could see how amazing his life is when he spends it with me, right? Then I'll eventually grow on him and he'll fall in love with me. When I say we pursue value and we hunt to win, what am I actually saying? I'm discussing the fact that for us, if a woman comes to us and is trying to prove how amazing she is and how, you know what, I'm the girl that you're looking for, it's not going to have the same effect as it has on you because you're a woman and your desires are different. For me, I want to go out as a man and I want to find the really valuable girl, the really desirable girl that everyone wants. And I want to do work. I want to hunt so that I can have that girl. Okay? That's what makes me feel good. I actually don't get dopamine from you coming to me, doing all this stuff to try and prove something to me, and you're just there. I don't get dopamine that way. My nature doesn't work that way, where you can be here and I feel accomplished in getting you and I feel like you have value. I don't. In fact, the opposite happens. If you come to me and you're trying to grow on me and you're pressing me all the time, calling me all the time, texting me all the time, trying to prove something to me, I'm actually going to believe you have no value, because my natural existing disposition is that the women with value are being pursued by other men. So if I feel like the women who have value are being pursued by other men and my goal is to pursue value, then I begin questioning your value when you're here doing everything trying to pursue me. And I assume that you have no value, because if you did have value, all your energy would be spent on trying to stiff arm and get rid of the many men who are pursuing you. Okay? And it's very important to understand how this concept works. Because when you do nothing, you're actually speaking to the already existing nature that men have to pursue value. When you do nothing, even when you're in the relationship with the guy, you're allowing him to pursue you in a way that reminds him, yeah, she has value. Yeah, she's got to stiff arm them guys away. She's got to stiff arm them guys away because everyone wants her. Everyone wants her, including me. But she's even not doing anything for me. I need to prove something to her. I need to hunt to win, okay? This is how I can fall in love with you as a woman. And this is why we're different in the ways that we fall in love and the ways that we kind of massage ourselves into a loving state, if that makes any sense. You can't make the mistake of thinking that the way that you fall in love, which is allowing basically a man to grow on you so that you can feel all these feelings in your feminine energy, is the same way that men fall in love, because it's not. Let's think of what missing someone really means. I miss your presence. I miss whether it be being around you. I miss talking to you. I miss having you by my side. I miss cuddling you. I miss smelling you. But if you're with me right now, how can I really miss those things? The reason I say this, and I want for you to be thinking about you, right? For you to be thinking about this, is I want these three things to be on your mind as it relates to why men fall in love when you do nothing. A is for anticipation. Anticipation is the period in between when he is not seeing you, but he's getting ready to see you again. So I should actually put anticipation, if we want to be visually logical here, I should actually put anticipation here because we're going upward, okay? So anticipation is when a guy is getting ready to see you again after having not seen you in a while. This process, right, is built up within him from the depths of despair, which is desire. Desire is down here where he's feeling, I guess, really sad. And he's feeling like he misses you because he hasn't seen you in a while, he hasn't talked to you in a while, and he would love to see you and talk to you again. During this time when he's in the depths of despair and he desires you the most, this is when he takes action. He takes action during this time because this desire pushes him to make a change to the fact that he hasn't seen you in a while, he hasn't spent a lot of time with you, in order for him to say, I want to return to a place of explosion, right? This is where he wants to get to. And in order to get to this place of explosion, I have to obviously ask her out. I have to obviously talk to her so that I can see her and be with her and no longer continue to miss her, right? So the reason that I say all this is because I want you to be thinking about this roller coaster of a cycle. Because this roller coaster of a cycle is really how men need to be taken on a roller coaster of emotions in order to properly build real solid feelings for you. I know it sucks. I'm not here to change the game. I'm just here to explain it to you so that it makes a lot of sense to you. And ask yourself, when you're dealing with guys, when you're in relationships with guys, when you're dating guys, are you actually allowing him to go through this range of emotions? This is not toxic, by the way, okay? There's nothing wrong with this. You can be a non-toxic person living your life, and this can be happening within the guys that you're dating, and it's a good thing for him to go from desiring you, taking action on that desire, to anticipating the next time he's going to see you, to the explosion when he finally does see you again, not for too long. You see how there's a peak here, and then he doesn't see you again, and then he goes back into the state of desire to do the thing over again. And over the course of time, what should be happening, if I have some space down here, right, is that process should basically allow him to make this gradual upward slope into liking you more and more as time goes on. Because as he's going through these roller coasters of emotions, he's realizing every time he gets to this desire point that I really do like her. I really do enjoy spending time with her. I recognize the fact that I like her so much and I love spending time with her so much that I want to see her again. A lot of times, see, remember how I talked about the emotions and the anxiety and the desperation? You're robbing men of this process, okay? You will rob a man of the process of being able to go through these ebbs and flows, build his overall feelings for you when you start doing things like spam texting him, calling him 24/7, reaching out to him just because he hasn't reached out to you, right? Trying to see, well, if you haven't texted me, you haven't asked me out on a date, then maybe I should remind you of my Stop doing that. Do not rob men of this process. Allow them to go through this process. Recognize that this process is important to their overall feelings for you, and recognize that their overall feelings for you is going to change how they act and approach you. And recognize that when you do this right, right? When you do this right, you'll get the final result that you want, which is for your relationship to harden and cement in the way that works best for you, where your man is accustomed to taking action for you, taking initiative for you, being the type of man that you need, right, in the relationship, because you don't have to beg, you don't have to scratch, you don't have to claw. He's already there, ready to satisfy your happiness, ready to satisfy your needs, ready to give you princess treatment because of how much feelings he has for you.